So today's video is the first in a series of recommendations off of my own bookshelf. The reason that I wanted to do this is that growing up, I really enjoyed hearing from other authors what types of books or different media influence them. And now I'd like to do the same thing, having two books under my own belt and a third one coming out soon. The first book that I wanted to recommend is this, Monster by Naoki Urasawa. Now this is a manga or graphic novel, comic book, whatever you want to call it. It's pictures and words. It actually feels like reading a screenplay. It's very engaging and easy to read, but the plot itself is very dense and the characters and world building are very mature. Now, I know for a lot of people, there is a big barrier sometimes to getting into this content because, for instance, manga or anime, a lot of the content can be some of the shonen for young boys or isekai or shoujo content that is meant to be a bit more lighthearted, jovial, bombastic, young. This story is truly meant for mature readers and not just from graphic violence or sexual content. The actual plot itself is very deep and engaging. This is a mystery, a thriller, a suspense story. And it centers around the protagonist, Dr. Tenma, who is rising through the ranks at his hospital, having traveled from Japan to post-World War II Germany to join it, and he is a master-class surgeon. What ends up happening is he saves a young boy, Johann Liebert, and the decision to do so ends up having huge ramifications for the world around him, as Johann Liebert ends up becoming the world's greatest monster. The villain is a master manipulator. He's a sociopath, and he's not someone who's just twirling his mustache or coming up with the plot of world domination. He manipulates everyone's fears around him to get them to do everything he desires, and the repercussions of Dr. Tenma saving him are huge. And so the plot is driven forward as Dr. Tenma is trying to reconcile and fix the decision he made 9 years ago. And it's also interesting because this story involves an ensemble cast over time. You start out learning about Dr. Tenma and Johann Liebert, but as the story progresses, there are more characters brought into the fold, and each one is important and has a specific person or purpose. None of them are unimportant or unengaging. Everyone has a reason to be there, and it's cool to see how all of these characters are brought together based on the decisions of the protagonist and antagonist. As far as how I would recommend this, I would say that if you're a fan of mysteries, thrillers, suspense stories, if you like movies like The Departed, I think you'd really enjoy this. It touches on all those cat and mouse beats with a very grounded narrative that really makes you want to turn the pages and just engages you at a deep, deep level. I would also say that if you're interested in, let's say, Stephen King's The Stand, and you've read that and you enjoy how all of these different characters from across the country are brought together, the same goes for this. There are multiple characters in these different points, and all of the decisions of the main characters affect them greatly. I would also say that as far as the artwork goes, the line work is very precise. It's very easy to read. There's not a ton of shading that's going to be distracting or hard to digest. It's very focused and purposeful, and the art really matches the plot. It really feels like a character in itself, similar to how if you would watch classic noir films, the actual way that they film the content is a character in and of itself. The artwork for this follows that same template. Now, as far as how this has influenced my own work, a specific example is on my second novel, The Treasure of Lorev. The character here, Kana Naoki, as you can hear, her name is after Naoki Urasawa. She's also right here behind me. The reason I did that is because there's a lot of shout outs in anime and manga where they will use different creators or different things that really inspired them and use those as names. For instance, if you watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there's a character named Dio, and clearly that is a reference to Ronnie James Dio. There are tons of references to rock music throughout that series. And when it came to references in my own work, I thought it would be fun, since this is sort of a cyberpunk futuristic setting, to utilize someone like Naoki Urasawa as a reference in my own material. I thought it'd be kind of a fun sort of pass back of that type of referencing. But in closing, I would say that if you're looking for a realistic narrative with a sharp, page-turning story that grabs you and won't let go, all the volumes are out. They're easy to buy. It's complete. You don't have to worry about waiting to finish this story. All 9 of the books are out. You can also find the anime online as well. I believe the first few episodes are on Netflix, at least for now. We know how streaming works. But if you're looking for a story like this, a suspenseful thriller, I would recommend Monster by Naoki Urasawa off of my own shelf.